After a gap of 18 years, an international credit rating agency, S&P Global, has improved India's credit ratings. Hello and welcome to Drishti IAS. My name is Saloni Nankyolier, and these improved ratings clearly highlight the growing global confidence in India's economic situation as well as our prudent policy management. So let us see what these ratings say. S&P Global upgraded India's sovereign credit rating from BBB- to BBB, and this has happened after a gap of 18 years, which means that the last time we saw an upgrade was in 2007, where we moved to the BBB- category, and in 2025 we have been upgraded to the BBB category, and this is about the long-term credit rating. So our long-term credit rating has seen an improvement. Our short-term credit rating has also seen an improvement because now we fall under the A2 category from the previous A3 category. So our long-term credit ratings have improved. Our short-term credit ratings have also improved. What does this tell us? This tells us that globally the investors are feeling more confident about investing their money in India. They're feeling more confident about lending money to India because they know that India will repay them on time without defaulting along with the interest. So this talks about India's strong economic growth, fiscal discipline, and inflation control. All these things are important for a stable economy. So this credit rating improvement is definitely a great news for Indian economy because this tells us that investors world over, they can trust India and they can trust India for the repayment of their loans, and we are moving towards a stable economy. Now let us talk about these improved ratings to analyze the situation better. Compare these credit ratings to your CIBIL score. So individually we have a CIBIL score, and if our CIBIL score is high, banks can help us, banks can lend us money at a lower rate of interest. Because when will your CIBIL score be high? It will be high when you have repaid your loans on time, when you have not defaulted, when you've paid your credit card bills on time. All these things, they tell the bank that they can trust you with the money. They can lend you money at lower rate of interest because you're going to repay them on time and you will not default. Now on a macroeconomic level also, when the national governments are concerned, these governments are rated by these credit rating agencies based on their repayment capacity. So our long-term ratings have also improved. Short-term ratings have also improved. Long-term ratings are for the loans where the duration is more than 1 year, and short-term ratings are for the loans where the duration is less than 1 year. So in both the categories, our ratings have improved, which tell us that India can be trusted with money for both long-term and short-term reasons. Now, if I talk about the different categories that S&P has, first is the investment grade category, where we right now fall. Here we have AAA, AA, A, BBB positive or BBB plus, BBB and BBB minus ratings. I am not going into the plus and minus details of AA, AAA, focusing only on BBB. So earlier we used to fall at the lowest level of the investment grade category because we were at BBB minus. Now we have jumped one step and moved to BBB, which tells the world that India has satisfactory repayment capacity. We have adequate repayment capacity, but we are still vulnerable to the outside economic changes. We are not fully shielded by the outside economic changes as would be the case in AAA. So we are at BBB, where we are still vulnerable to the outside economic changes, but we have satisfactory repayment levels. Second is the speculative or junk category. So this is the riskier category. Here we have BB and B. And third is the highly speculative and default category. So it is highly unlikely that these governments are going to repay the loan, and it is most likely that they will default. Here we have CCC, CC, C and D. So for long-term credit rating, India falls under the BBB bracket. Now if we talk about the short-term ratings, here also we have A1, A2, A3. So right now we are at A2, which tells us that India again has adequate repayment capacity, but we are not fully shielded by the outside economic changes, as is the case in A1. So the goal is to move here. Right now we are at A2, but our credit rating has improved for both our long-term and short-term categories. Now let us look at the key highlights from the report, because analyzing this will help us understand what parameters did S&P keep in mind in order to improve our credit rating. So the first and foremost parameter here was real GDP growth. So our real GDP growth, it averaged at 8.8% between 2022 and 2024, which was the highest in the Asia Pacific region. So real GDP, what is real GDP? It is the GDP that has been adjusted for inflation. So our GDP is not rising only because the prices of goods and services are rising. It is rising because the production of the goods and services is increasing. So this is the most authentic parameter, and our real GDP has been the highest in the Asia Pacific region. In fact, the projection for the next 3 years is also for 6.8%. So there's a slight decrease from 8.8% to 6.8%, but it is still better than a lot of other countries of the Asia Pacific region. And there is a moderation in the government's debt to GDP ratio, which talks about government's repayment capacity. Because compare it with your EMI to salary ratio. If your salary increases, you're most likely to repay your loans on time, you're more likely to repay or pay your EMIs on time, or even finish off your loans early because your salary is increasing. Similarly, for a government, if the GDP is increasing, it is more likely that the government can repay the loans on time or repay the debt in time. So there's a projection of moderation in government's debt to GDP ratio also. And the government spending quality has improved. So not just quantity, so not just how much money is being spent, where is the money being spent is also taken under consideration. And now India is focusing more on infrastructure development, on long-term development. So our spending quality has also improved. And some goals that these governments have is that the union government capital expenditure is expected to reach 3.1% of the GDP by fiscal 2026. So this is a huge amount. India has a target, the union government, it has a target of reaching 3.1% of the GDP for capital expenditure, for focusing on infrastructure development, long-term asset development or durable asset development. So all these things, union government also has a target, and state governments also, because the total public investment, which talks about center plus states, here also the target is to reach 5.5% of the GDP, which again is a huge amount. So both the central government and the state governments, they're focusing on the creation of more infrastructure, creation of more long-term durable assets. Why? To solve the bottlenecks that used to exist earlier, which limited our long-term economic growth. Because our roads were not proper, highways were not proper, there were delays, there were power supply shortages, power cuts, all these things, they were bottlenecks which limited our long-term growth. And now our focus is on infrastructure development and connectivity investment so that these issues can be resolved. So the governments are working in the right direction, and not just the government, the RBI also has a great role to play here, because our monetary policy reforms and especially our inflation control, which has been kept within the limits of 2 to 6%, has also helped S&P improve its credit rating scores for us. So RBI has also got a role to play in this, and union government and state government, all these things have got a role to play in this. So these things have helped us improve our credit rating scores. And what is the importance? The importance is same what you have at an individual level. If your CIBIL scores go up, you can get loans at a lower rate of interest. Similarly, India can also get loans at a lower rate of interest. Then increased investor confidence. Investor confidence will increase. Investments will increase. Infrastructure development is going to happen. And this in turn is going to help us with employment generation in the long run. global image is also going to increase. So the global image of India will also improve, and in the long run, this will strengthen our currency, strengthen rupee. So all these things are going to happen if our credit rating scores, they keep improving. So that was all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Now let us practice a question for prelims. If a country's sovereign credit rating is upgraded from BBB minus to BBB, which of the following is the most likely outcome? A. The country will face higher borrowing costs in international markets. B. Foreign investors may view the country as safer, leading to greater capital inflows. C. The country will automatically qualify for loans from the IMF without restrictions or conditions. And D. The exchange rate of country's currency will be fixed by S&P. Select the correct answer. Please provide your answers in the comment section and we will meet in the next video.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.